Hello, everybody, and welcome to Tech Talk Live. It's Mardi Gras here in Louisiana, or everywhere for that matter. But we're not celebrating, we're working. Wah, wah. Anyway, we're going to be talking to you guys about some PreSonus TubePre amps today. We'll be doing a little acoustic guitar playing with some microphones and TubePres and listening to some stuff and just kind of geeking out about TubePre amps. So we're calling today's episode Fat Tubes Day. So instead of Fat, it doesn't matter. Anyway, I'd like to start by kind of just describing to you the V2 version or version 2s of the tube amplifiers that we had before. We had this single channel guy. It's called a TubePre, and it's a third rack space. You can kind of see that already. It has a little sweet backlit VU on there, so you can get your levels set and everything. That's a let me do it. I'm doing this backwards. This is your VU meter here. You've also got phase, instrument level. 80 cycles guy right here is actually a roll-off. And what that means is if you got a lot of rumble in your microphone, you can hit this little button and it'll roll off that low end and eliminate transmission noise or any kind of AC noise, stuff that you don't want in the recording. Also, plus 48V, 4 phantom power microphones. We're using 2 large diaphragm condensers which require phantom power, so that's pretty good to have because if we didn't, they wouldn't work. So this is a single channel version, and the tube is always in this path. It's always happening. So you've got your gain stage here, and then you've got drive, which means awesome. You dial in the awesome until you get the sound that you're looking for. Kind of set your level and get the right levels here in the VU, and then put awesome on top of that. It's like salt and pepper or butter or anything that's good that's not good for you, and then that's how you dial the good stuff in. Now, what we're doing and what we're plugged into right now, what you'll be hearing is us into a BlueTube DP, which is a half space rack piece, and I'd show it to you, but I got cables hooked up to it right now. And it's a 2-channel version of this, but what's kind of unique about it is that it's called DP because it's a dual path. That means the tube's not always in the line. So it has an X-Max My preamp, which is which actually is exactly the same as the Studiolive in our Fire Studio family. So that X-Max, you can have just a solid state, clean, very clear and accurate sound, or you can, and I don't know if you can hear this, you might be able to hear that little snap in there. There's this like detent off. You can actually turn the tube drive on and then saturate with tube awesomeness into that clean path. So you have 2 paths or 2 choices, and it's also a 2-channel, so you have really 4 choices of how you're going to set stuff up with the 2 microphones going into the preamp. We're going out of the line inputs. This is something that the guys wanted me to talk about was we're going out of the outputs of that tube amplifier. And this is the same way with any amplifier that you're using that's external to your mixer or your recording interface. If you want to get that into the interface, you need to go into the line level inputs. On, just for instance, Fire Studio Project and the AudioBox 1818 VSL have 8 inputs on the front. So you have the first 2 are mic or instrument inputs. They're called combo jacks. So they have like the XLR, which is like the barrel connection, and they've got a 1/4 inch. Now this is not a line level, it's actually an instrument. So if I wanted to, this is acoustic electric, I could actually plug this directly into that input. So what that means is it's ready to receive this level, not a line level. So it's a little bit more sensitive to the incoming signal. Plug line level in there, it's going to be too hot. However, that's on inputs 1 and 2 on the Fire Studio Project and the AudioBox 1818 VSL. Inputs 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 are mic or line. So I can take a mic preamp, which takes a mic level and gain stages it to a line level. I can put those into any of the line inputs on the front of this bad boy, anywhere in between 3 and 8. And I've got the BlueTube DP line outputs going into inputs 3 and 4. Now, anybody that knows anything about these interfaces knows that there are 8 inputs, but they also have 8 X-Max mic preamps on them. So they're like, well, how do I get the level right on the preamp on front, and how do I get the level right on my external tube preamp, and just to make everything translate so I can record and get the proper levels. And the way that works is, if you look on the front of the AudioBox 1818, you've got a -20 to turn it down, so it'll attenuate -20 dB, and it'll boost up 20. In the middle is not exactly, it's 6 clicks back. So if you go to the middle, and then just click it back about 6 D-tenths, that's unity gain. So that's where you're going to want to be if you're using an external mic pre. If you're not and you're plugging directly into it, just turn it until you get the right sound. It's that simple. But if you are using an external mic pre like the BlueTube DP or Eureka or ADL 600 or the TubePre or anything, you know, it doesn't have to just be ours. It'd be better if it's ours. Just saying. You can just put it to unity, go middle, go to 12 o'clock, come back 6 D-tenths. That's about unity gain. So it's not going to attenuate or boost your signal, and you'll be able to get an accurate representation of the sound that you're getting with the BlueTube DP. Now I'm going to play a little bit, and I just want you to kind of hear what we're doing here. Okay, so you can hear it's pretty good. It's stereo. I've got it panned hard left and right. You should be able to hear it stereo out there in Internetville. Now what I want to do is I want to show you a couple of things. That is just the X-Max pre, and it sounds cool, and we've got 2 cool large diaphragm condenser microphones. And what I did was, a lot of my pros out there know what I'm doing. We're using an AB or spaced pair stereo microphone technique, which means they're spaced and they are a pair, 1, 2. Right, and what this does is allows me to kind of broaden the image of what I'm recording. You don't have to have 2 mics to do this. Well, you do have to have 2 mics to do this, but you don't have to have 2 mics to record your acoustic. You could just put 1 and record with that, you know, just 1 and record, and that's totally works. But I like to have acoustic guitar, or really anything that I can, recorded in stereo. So I usually use an AB space pair XY. Those are the most common microphone techniques that stereo microphone techniques that you'll see. There are a lot more, but these are the ones that you'll see most of the time. This gives a pretty wide image. If you pan it hard left and right while you're recording, or after you record and you push it back and you're listening to it, you pan your returns hard left and right, and it just sounds cool. It gives you this time alignment, and it makes it feel like you're kind of playing the acoustic, or at least you're sitting in front of it, and it gives you an accurate sound. I started talking too much about mics, didn't I? This happens from time to time. I get a little excited about microphones. I'm sorry. All right, let's get back on point here. Let's talk about the BlueTube DP. The V2, it's an upgrade as far as the face of the way it looks. It does have VU meters just like the TubePre here. So it looks very much like this, except it's 2 of them. And the difference between the TubePre and the BlueTube DP is it has dual path, which means it can be solid state, and you can turn on the tube, because it's off, it's solid state. On, you're actually adding to warmth, high-end harmonic distortion sound, which is pleasing to our ears. Butter, salt and pepper, whatever you want to call it. And all the buttons that you need, a pad to turn it down if the input's too hard, 80 cycle roll-off, phase reverse, or and phantom power. And we have phantom power on both of them because we're powering these 2 microphones into the BlueTube DP. So again, let's listen. So let's kind of... get a strum. What I want to do is, that's dry. I want to reach over here, and again, I'm going to kind of give you a hint of what to listen to. I'm going to turn on the TubePre on both sides, and I'm going to crank it, and I want you to kind of listen to the top end of the way that the guitar sounds. So again, and then we'll turn it on, and you'll hear that little detent. It's going to get a little bit louder too, so it's kind of cheating, but... All right, to me, and you may not be able, it may not translate over the internet, maybe it will. I feel like you get a little bit more rounded sound, which is very much a characteristic of the tube sound. So I think it's sick. I think it's cool to have 4 preamps in a half space rack. BlueTube DP is amazing. Now, once we kind of got our gain set, that's what I did first. I used the X-Max, set my gain, get the levels of get the mic levels right. I'm looking over there. I like to set levels in Studio One. You can. It's probably the best thing to do. Ballistically, it's going to give you a more accurate representation of where you want to be level-wise with your meter. So when you're recording, or you're setting up a record, you got the computer hooked up to your interface, which is what you normally would do with an audio box. You need to set your meters inside of Studio One. So that's what I did. We're not going to be recording today, but I wanted to get good levels. I didn't want to blow you guys' face off with my sweet acoustic battery. So once you got that set, you can actually add the tube warmth just by clicking the little button on and then just kind of rolling in how much you want. Just kind of listen to it. It's by taste. I don't have any suggestions. I say turn it up to 11 and just let it go from there. Now, when we're tracking, and we'll just say theoretically, because again, I'm not going to track anything today. We could if you wanted to. If you really want to, just write into us and say, hey, why don't you track something? I'll be like, maybe we will, I don't know. With the AudioBox VSL, you have built-in effects. We have a channel strip from the 1602, so you have a gate, a compressor, and EQ on every input and output channel. So that's pretty amazing. So you've got dynamics, but not only do you have that, you've got time-based effects. So if I wanted to put a little reverb on this, and I'm going to do that. That sounds a little cooler. My voice sounds cool. All right, let's take that back off. And I'm just using the return and kind of pushing it up and down. So that's dry, not so bad, but you know, let's get a little distance to it. Maybe just kind of cheat that in there a little bit. It kind of gives it a more, you know, live feel to it, right? I think that sounds cool. So when you're tracking, not only do you have dynamics effects on the Virtual Studiolive for AudioBox 18, 44, and the 22, you have time-based effects like reverb and delay. Really quickly, I'm going to just set this down for a second. I'm going to reach over here. I want to show you how I recalled those. It's just like the Virtual Studiolive for the actual Studiolive. So you have like this little browser here, and I can drag and drop stuff in. So you can see I have a reverb and a delay already recalled. And what I do is I take, let's say I'm going to change the reverb to a delay. I drag and drop the delay, bam, I've got a delay on it. You know, I want a reverb, I go over here and say, let's tiled floors. And I have a reverb. So now I basically just change those two. I've got a delay, so on Effects A, if I play and raise this up, raise this up, raise this up, raise this up, haha, I'm kidding. Isn't that cool? Bring the return up. I got the thumbs up to bring up the returns. I'm gonna. That's our tempo. So we could put delay on there if we want to. I'm going to turn the delay off because I sound like a weirdo. Or you can put the reverb in there to kind of put in a little bit of the room. You can see behind me I've got gobos up, so I'm killing the sound of this room specifically because we wanted a more direct sound with the vocal. But having these two, teaming these two things up, the BlueTube DP and teaming it up with an AudioBox VSL or a Fire Studio or whatever you're using, and then using, well, specifically with the AudioBox VSL, then using what's available in the AudioBox VSL as far as the Studiolive's fat channel and then the time-based effects, it kind of takes it to the next level as far as when we're tracking, being able to create an environment that's a little bit more creative to get cool ideas down, right? So, I mean, you can sit there and play all day long with your acoustic guitar and not need delay or reverb. But it's cool to have that on there and not have to print it or record it to the recording. And you don't with this. You can actually just listen to it and kind of get a good vibe in your headphone mix and then, you know, start tracking. So again, I'm going to turn the effects off and I'm going to play like a more of a... put some juice in there. Let's put a little bit of tube warmth in there. You can probably hear just from the motion there that it changes, totally changes. I can hear the change automatically before I even start playing. I'm gonna shut up and play now. To me, it sounds like it's a little bit deeper. It has a little bit more body to it, a little bit more, I don't want to say it like rolls off any high end because it actually makes some things a little bit clearer to me. But I feel like it has a lot more body. Because I know that this thin guitar doesn't have quite that much oomph. We'll go back real quick. Mic pre-shootout in the house. So turn those off. See, that even sounds maybe even a little more dull. It doesn't sound bad, it's just different, right? So that's the solid state. I'm not good with words, sorry. That's the solid state. And maybe that's what you're looking for. It doesn't sound right. I don't know how to tune this thing. Okay, so that doesn't sound bad, it just sounds different. And maybe you don't want to have that tube saturation in the recording, so don't put it on. You have that opportunity. It's one or the other. You don't have to, it's not always in the path, and that's why they call it the BlueTube DP. It's a dual path, so it's clean X-Max mics, solid state kind of, clean kind of thing. It sounds good. This is how you tune a guitar. I think I tuned it wrong earlier. There we go. And then dial that bad boy back in. I think I like it better with the tube in it. Yeah, I feel like it has obviously more body, and it is getting a little bit louder because we are jacking up the gain a bit. But I feel like overall it's kind of adding something that I would want to print to the mix. So I got that kind of how I want. Let's get the environment the way I want it. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach over to this bad boy. I'm going to show you kind of what I did and how I did it. I'm coming in on 1 and 3. You can kind of see my voice bouncing here on inputs 1 and 3 on the VSL. And this is my headphone mix. Now, just a little secret for all my people out there. On the AudioBox 1818 VSL, you have to route whatever input channels or return channels you want to your headphones manually. It's not a copy of the main mix. And the reason behind this is we wanted separate mixes. So 3, 4, 5, 6, then 7 and 8. 7 and 8 is actually for the headphones. So if you want to hear it in your cans, you need to actually turn 7 and 8 up. What we have here is our effects. So you see all your outputs, your additional outputs, and beside the main out, which is controlled by the master, or these faders here, excuse me. You have A and B, and that's your effects. A here, and B. And I've got them just turned up just a touch, right? And that's on my input, right? So I've got them turned up, and then I've recalled a delay on A. So let's listen to that. Okay, so that's happening kind of slow. We can just speed that up if we want. And I'll have to turn it up so you can hear it. And even more if we want. Just kind of, could do like a slap back. And just kind of pull it back. Just so where it's kind of present like that. kind of gives it a cool sound. I like that. I'm digging that. It's kind of, you know, the faster delays obviously are just reverbs. A bunch of closely spaced delays or closer together delays make a reverb. I don't know, science, words, a reverb, and then the longer spaced out delays actually create the delay. So I like the way that sounds. That's cool. But maybe, you know, we want to get a particular room sound and make it sound like we're in a stadium. And that's got like, let me mute that. That's got a cool vibe to it, right? So let's kind of do the same thing and listen to just with that. A little is a lot. And that seems a little big, but you know what we can do? Change that dampening and, oh, that's on the wrong effect. Make sure you're on the right effect, Justin. Turn the pre-delay down a little bit. It's obviously a little bit smaller that way. And then the width, room size, also we can make it a little bit smaller room. That seems a little bit more right for me. Okay, so that's okay. I had to be perfectly honest with you. I think it's a little more intelligible with just a little bit of delay. And this is obviously not a tech talk on what's the right effect for my acoustic guitar, but yeah, I like effects. And I can never have enough reverb, but I don't really like that one. So I'm thinking just a little bit of that slap back to open it up. I think that sounds cooler, so. That might be a little bit much, and you could just fiddle around with it to just get the right effect that you're looking for. You know, and then you can mess with the pre-delays on the reverb. You can mess with the feedback on the delay. Let me turn that off so you can hear what I'm saying. And again, you don't need two microphones. You can use a TubePre and then go into your Audio Box 44, 1818 in the line level, or the, you know, the Fire Studio Mobile or the Fire Studio Project all have line level inputs. Make sure that you're using one of those guys and not the Audio Box, the 22 or the Audio Box USB. They have instrument input levels, and that might just be too much to go into those inputs. That's really not what they're designed for. That's designed to plug a bass or an acoustic or an electric guitar directly into it and maybe use a plug-in inside of Studio One. So use something with a line level input, and what I'm talking about is an interface. To interface with the computer, you're going to want to, you know, go into the line level out of the outputs of your preamp. My personal opinion as far as BlueTube DP, it sounds killer. I like it a lot. It really changed. This guitar is a good guitar, don't get me wrong. It's a little thin. And I think using these really inexpensive microphones and the BlueTube and then dialing in that tube, I think get your gain stage right on the X-Max Pre, dial in a little bit of that tube, or a lot in my matter. I'll just kind of crank that up. I think it really adds a cool characteristic to it. Definitely get out there and check it out. It's available everywhere now. We're going to take some questions. We're also going to be giving away some t-shirts to two lucky winners or two lucky viewers of Tech Talk. We're going to be picking that in just a second. So if you'll give me a sec, I'm going to pull this out of the way. Lean it up against that trusty gobo there. And hopefully my phone hasn't died. And I'm going to get some questions from Brad, and Brad's going to send me some questions. While I'm waiting on those questions to get in, again, the space pair is the way to go for me. You can just use a single microphone. The Audio Box Studio actually comes with everything you need to start doing this recording. Now, it's not an Audio Box VSL, it's just USB, but you can use the effects in Studio One. So it comes with Studio One, it comes with an interface, all the cables you need, a microphone, some headphones, and all that good stuff. So pretty much everything that you would need to start recording your guitar, your voice, or whatever, you know, anything with a microphone. you can go ahead and start doing that. I'm not, oh, here we go. I was getting scared. Okay, question. How does the unit compare to hybrid Ps like the UA Twinfinity? Okay, I'm not that familiar with the UA Twinfinity, but I know Universal Audio, it's kind of apples and oranges really, because you're comparing, you know, a Chevy truck or a Ford truck to like a Ferrari. Okay, it's a little different, especially price-wise. I don't know how much that cost. And I haven't shot them out, but I have used a lot of preamps before, and I know the ones that aren't good and the ones that are. So I can tell you that this one's good. There are some that aren't. But what's cool about this, and I think if the Twinfinity works like this one, then it's a lot similar. It's a lot alike. I like this because it has an X-Max. I can rely on an X-Max mic preamp. I recorded my entire record through a 1602 mixer with no external pre's, no tube, anything. It was all solid state X-Max mics, and it sounds amazing. I might be a little biased, but because I've got an X-Max and I can choose to add tube, I really dig that. I think that's cool. So I totally didn't answer your question, but that's just kind of my opinion. I would really like to check out that mic pre. If you could get UA to send one to me, that's Justin Spence, 7257 Florida Boulevard, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Let's see, next question. Why does Studio One 2.0 user can't download sound sets made by other users? Artist doesn't have the exchange in a way, I think, that Pro does. I think this is an exchange question about Studio One. Artist can only download some sound sets, and specifically why that is, I don't know. I just know it's a limitation of Artist. If you want to have the full features of the software, you're going to want to go to Pro, essentially. If you only need, like when you're moving through software versions, if you need MP3 and you need third-party VST, Producer's killer, right? That's everything you need. If you want to go with everything full force, Professional is the way. And I know that's not free, but it's definitely one of the least expensive softwares and upgrade paths that are on the market today. And it sounds amazing, and it's really, if you're as an artist, user, it's really easy to use and it's great. So I'd recommend going up there. Can you comment on the argument of cheaper TubePres aren't true TubePres? It is claimed that they are more of a starved plate, and they are starved plate. What they do, and this is not an engineer talking to you, this is just Justin talking to you. What they do is they clip a preamp and add high-end harmonic distortion. A true TubePre works in a power circuit state, and I'm totally talking out of my butt here, guys, but it's not exactly the same design, but it yields the same results. So it's not exactly the same, but it's a less expensive design as well. But I mean, you just heard it, and you obviously heard it through the internet, and it probably didn't sound as amazing as it does sound here and here. But it's a good pre, and it sounds good. That's the bottom line, really. Does a $3,000 tube preamp, made by whoever, sound good? Probably. Does that sound like our ADL 600? No, it does not. But it does sound good, and it's completely usable. It's like, having a bunch of different kind of microphones or a bunch of different kinds of guitars or guitar amps. You just get different characteristics from different pieces, and this is absolutely something I would feel completely confident having in my, preamp rack. Let's see. Can you use the gate to trigger the signal generator like in other DAWs when it is boost? When you use the boost, this is totally, yes, you can do this. Somebody's asking about, well, you wouldn't actually generate it with the signal generator. They're talking about using a signal generator on a channel, which we have a signal generator in Studio One. And you put a gate on that, and then you use a send from your kick to key the gate, which opens up and lets a 60 cycle or 50 or whatever cycle tone you want to happen when the kick hits, so it gives a tone to the kick. And yes, you can do that. There are a lot of our forum guys out there put together a lot of videos, and a lot of the guys out there, these guys are great actually, by the way, have put together a video specifically on that. So check that out. Check out our forums and check out our videos. Why don't you just use the effects on the board of your Studiolive mixer or Studio One Pro to get... that's a good question. Steve is asking why not use the effects on your board. One, if you don't have a mixer, the interface, the Audio Box 22 has effects. And that's like bones compared to what a Studiolive costs. Now, if you need a mixer, then get a Studiolive, you know, and that's going to be what you need. But if you're just trying to do some recording, an Audio Box 22 can take the fat channel of a 1602 mixer and put it in software in the VSL in your computer, and that works on a kernel level, which means that you're getting less latency using those effects. It's near zero latency. It's like less than 4 milliseconds or something along those lines. So that's a cool thing to have. Just to get, it's really for phones mixing and creating an environment for the artist so they can give you a better performance. You could use the ones in the software, but that's a little slower. It gives you a little bit more latency by using the processing in Studio One because it works on a kernel level with VSL. It makes it a little bit faster. How that works, I don't know. This is just what the smart people told me. Let's see. What kind of mics are you using? Condenser or dynamic, etc. I'm using Rode NT1s. They are large diaphragm condenser microphones, and they are a really good all-purpose mic. You know, is it a U87? No, but for the cost, it's probably for bang for your dollar. You really can't go wrong. You know, they sound really good. A lot of inexpensive microphones, and these are inexpensive. I don't really know how much they cost, but they're relatively inexpensive. A lot of the high end is missing, and it can be brittle, and it just doesn't give you a good representation of what you're doing. These are great. They're really great, especially for stuff like this, overheads. You can use them for hi-hat. You can really use them for anything you want to if you set them up right. So use those. A large diaphragm condenser. Let's see, what else? What model? Same question. What model are the mics? And how high is your gain on the Pre? The X-Max mic Pre is about halfway, so I'm probably dialing in. I don't really know. It's, you know, I'm hitting 0 dB when I'm measuring it. So as hot as that is, to make it, you know, to get to 0 dB from a microphone level. And then when I was using the tube drive, I cranked those all the way up. So I was about halfway up on the X-Max Pre of the BlueTube DP, and then with the tube, I just jacked it up because it sounded cool. 11. I went to 11. Is there anything you don't want to do when using a TubePre? Anything you don't want to do when using a TubePre? I really don't. I don't like to tell you don't do something. I think that just makes you want to go out and do it.
Don't pour your coffee in it.
Don't pour your coffee. Matthew says don't pour your coffee in it. But it's tough. It's made out of metal. You can pretty much abuse it. You know, this is a plastic cover. You might want to steer clear of throwing it at sharp, pointy objects. But other than that, you know, the way you want to set it is set the gain here, get a good level, and then introduce the drive. And then maybe back off on the gain if it's overloading, but you're not getting quite as much tube as you want. You just play back and forth with these two guys until you get the right sound. So the one thing you do want to do with any preamp is experiment. Get the right sound with the right mic, with the right guitar, with the right artist. All of those things come into play when you're messing with amps, whether it be tube preamps or a solid state preamp, it doesn't matter. Can you crank up the tube drive all the way on the BlueTube and demo for a minute? Yes, that's what I did. When you heard the tube drive, that was all the way out. That was just full board. This guy will break up a little bit more, I found, I think, than the TubePre, and I'll get back to that eventually in another tech talk, I promise. But when I was using that, I had it all the way up. So it was either off or what you were hearing when I was playing was all the way up. So we never really did it in the middle because I think it was just a little too minute to translate over the net. Will y'all do a firmware update on Studiolive to add more effects? That's kind of an ambiguous question. Will we add more effects presets? Or will there actually be physically more? There won't ever be physically more effects processors. Like there are 2 stereo 32-bit effects processors in the Studiolive. So no, those will always be like they are. If you chain 2 mixers together like 2 16s, you get 4 processors. So you get it that way if you want. As far as presets, I don't really know. We could. I just don't know if that anything of that nature is in the pipeline for right now. But if that's what you're looking for, send us a request. T-shirt winners. Let's give away. Oh, ooh. Oh man. So Brad says we're not only giving 2 T-shirts away, but we're going to give a TubePre and a BlueTube DP away. So our winners have been contacted, but our T-shirt winners are Hurdle69 and something I can't pronounce. ASEIFERT is a viewer. Congrats, guys. You guys got sweet T-shirts. And MOP JVT is a TubePre winner. And then JSIC, I think that's how you say the name. Sorry, I'm not good with names. Is the BlueTube DP winner. So we've got 4 winners today on the Tech Talk Live show. 2 t-shirts, a TubePre, and a BlueTube DP. So that's killer. You know, congrats on that. Again, happy Mardi Gras to everybody out there. Thank you for tuning in to Tech Talk. I'm Justin Spence. We'll be back next week talking about QMix, SL Remote, and Studiolive. We'll be at the Manship Theater. It's going to be a really sweet Tech Talk. Tell your friends. Tune in. It's going to be really cool. We're going to have a live band, a sick blues guitar player. It's going to be really fun. We're going to set stuff on fire. There's going to be some sort of ultimate fighting going. Okay, those things aren't real, are they? Okay, they're telling me that was all fake. But we will have a blues singer there, John Boogie. John Boogie Long, is that how you say it? John Boogie Long? And his band's going to be there. We're going to be jamming. We're going to show QMix on the phone, and we're going to show SL Remote on the iPad, and we're going to be just rolling around, cruising around, controlling stuff, and showing you guys why this stuff is cool, how to use it, and, you know, just hanging out. So definitely tune in next week, Tuesday, 2 p.m. At the Manship Theater. We'll be broadcasting live. I'm Justin. Thank you for watching. Thanks for watching Tech Talk.